Okay. Oh, wow. There we go. We got volume. Nice. Nice. Okay. Hope everybody is enjoying dinner. Please go ahead and take a quick break because I'm going to invite Linda up here, and she is going to sing the national anthem to get us officially kicked off. Let's give her a hand.
No, sorry. Hold on. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous night o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, see, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Everybody, give it up for Linda. Okay, let me make sure I understand the next step in the process here, and we'll get going. All right. First of all, I just want to take a second to welcome everybody to the 15th anniversary celebration and legacy dinner for Team RWB. We've got folks from all over the country that have flown in to be a part of this. Some running tomorrow, some ran today, some not. The fact that you're here means the world to all of us. So thanks so much for making it in. This is a big night. And I've had the fortune to catch up with a number of people over the last day and a half or so. And the number one thing that I've heard throughout the room is, how the heck has it been 15 years since we did this back in 2010? I think one of the other things I've noticed is that Team RWB has this very special ability to do two things at the same time. And one of those things is you can make a friend from 15 years ago and see them in the lobby of the hotel, and it's like it's been 15 minutes. And you can immediately reconnect because you've had the ability to share a really special connection through this organization. And the other thing that's going on is I've met people for the very first time over the last day or so that have no clue who I am, that are meaningfully involved in Team RWB. And I think that says a ton about the organization, about how much this means to people, and about how it really is about the organization and the mission and the people that we wish to serve. For a little bit of context, Mike and I go way back. We served together at Fort Hood and then again at Fort Bragg. And in 2010, Mike was down in Tampa for the summer on an assignment during grad school and talking about this idea that he had that he was sharing around with a number of other people about Team RWB. And as far as I could tell at that moment, it was really about coming together and running the Twin Cities Marathon and raising some money for veterans. And for those of you that may not remember what the veteran landscape was like or what the world was like in 2010, the war in Afghanistan was an absolute mess. We had friends, brothers and sisters that were all kinds of tore up over in Afghanistan. And the war in Iraq was winding down, but the situation was rapidly devolving. And people were coming home from these conflicts after 10, 15 years of war and not really knowing where to turn. And the challenge was there was all kinds of help out there, but no one really knew how to find it or where to go. And candidly, a lot of it wasn't particularly good. And many of us didn't know where to turn. And so in 2010, maybe less than a year, 6 months after I left the service, I counted myself as one of those people. And when Mike came to me and said, hey, we're going to run a marathon, which I never did, I immediately agreed. And it wasn't because I understood the strategy of the organization or really even the mission at that point, but I think I really viscerally understood the need because it lived even within me. And running all that summer in the brutal heat and humidity on Bayshore Boulevard with Mike training for this marathon, I realized that I was able to focus on something that was really good for me for the first time in a long time. And I was able to do it in a way that was attached to a mission. It was something that was greater than myself. And maybe most importantly, it gave me a chance to do it with people that I trusted and cared about. And, the early mission of Team RWB, connecting wounded veterans with advocates and all of that, I think a lot of us kind of had that hair club for men moment at some point when we realized that we weren't just the president, we were also a client of the organization. And I think we started to realize that there was a lot more potential there than any of us initially thought. And Mike's a big ideas guy. He can think big. But I would dare say that once we kind of realized how good this was for so many of us, our civilian counterparts included, we knew that we were on something big and had the ability to uncork a mission that was going to change the veteran landscape forever. And so a lot of what you see out there now that's available for veterans and military families is because of the work of this organization, not just what you do at Team RWB, but the rest of the landscape followed suit. The VA followed suit. The American Legion followed suit. And so everything is forever changed now because of the work of folks like you and the belief that you had in this organization so many years ago and in all the years since. It really means a great deal to so many of us. And we'll give Mike a chance to come up and say a few words in a few minutes because his vision and energy in those early years is unmatched to anything I've ever seen before or since. But before that, I want to bring up our friend Mike Owens from the Wounded Warrior Project. They've been a huge friend of Team RWB for many years. Mike's the director of adaptive programs at Wounded Warrior Project, ran the 10K today, so make sure you give it up for him there. But I want to invite Mike up to say a few words, and we'll get the program going from there. Mike, come on up.
I wrote mine down. So, as he mentioned, Mike Owens, I head up the adaptive sports program for WWP. Thank you very much for having me here, inviting me, and allowing me to participate. As he said, I did run the 10K this morning. It was good. The weather was great. I heard a lot of people complaining about the heat, but coming from San Antonio, I was like, what the hell are you talking about? It felt amazing. So, but the reason I'm here, so congratulations on 15 years. It's a huge accomplishment in our business. Wounded Warrior Project is extremely proud to be a partner of yours, and I personally know the benefits of adaptive sports in my own journey. So as you don't know, I started at WWP 18 years ago, back in 2007, right after I got out of the Marine Corps. And after 18 years and 5 different programs, I'm blessed to work with adaptive athletes every day. From those individuals that are trying to go to the Paralympics, Warrior Games, Invictus, and I bet some people here have been to those, just to the average veteran that just wants to decrease their pain, sleep more, and be more active in their local area. But our goals as partners are aligned. We know that movement is medicine. So we started out very much like RWB, conducting grassroots efforts. I was around for that. I remember working out of my truck and the hospital in the early days. We had a credit card and a mission: honor and empower wounded warriors. We didn't have a lot of staff or rules or regulations. We didn't even have an HR department back then. But we were guided by a basic principle I bet you'd never guess: don't be a dumbass. That was the only rule, and that worked for a few years. But as you can determine, that guidance means something different to everyone. So as we grew, we had to evolve as you did, put measures in place to guide teammates in the right direction and define what meeting the mission meant, and change direction based on feedback. That also required tremendous partners like RWB to be effective. We know we can't do it all, but it's through a lattice work of community partners like you that align with our mission, our vision, and our shared intent. Not everybody knows this, but there's over 40,000 different veteran service organizations out there, and only a small percentage will ever make it to the size, notoriety, and impact of RWB. You should be proud of your accomplishment. Thousands of veterans have pushed through their pain and accomplished phenomenal goals through the help of their local chapters. You cannot even go to an event, even at WWP, without seeing your iconic brand on a t-shirt. And that's a testament to you guys' efforts. Your ability to give veterans what they need, and that's to do hard things. And I know you guys know what that means. Because as veterans, we have an internal desire to accomplish goals, to embrace the suck, and to push our bodies to new heights, all to prove, if only to ourselves, that we can achieve anything, that we're still as hard as we were in the service, even if we can't do that stuff anymore. But organizations like you all give us opportunities and support with our veteran brothers and sisters, and we really appreciate it. So from Wounded Warrior Project to all the staff here, to all the volunteers, and to all of Red, White, and Blue, congratulations again on 15 years, and thank you for having me.
All right, it is now my privilege and my honor to bring up our founder, Mike Irwin. Let's go, buddy. All right. I'm gonna try to keep my emotional composure as I go through this to the best of my ability, but it's really humbling to be here tonight seeing so many great Americans who have come from far and wide, who've been a part of this journey. So typically when I talk, and I do this professionally, I like to stand up and say, hey, I know that you don't know what I'm about to say right now, because I don't even know what I'm about to say. Like, I am very much like a speak from the heart, let it rip kind of speaker, where I get in the moment and I have an idea what I want to say, but there's a few times per year where I actually put down my thoughts and I put them on paper, because I want to make sure I get my thinking as clear as possible. So here we go. The days are long and the years are short. My academic advisor at the University of Michigan, Chris Peterson, used to say this a lot. And the older I get, the more I realize how true that is. Life is a journey, and the journey is people. It's really awesome to be here tonight with so many people who are responsible for making Team Red, White, and Blue into the organization that it's become. So thank you for being here, and really more importantly, thank you for the work that you've put in over the past 15 years to make Team Red, White, and Blue that organization that Mike just talked about. 15 years ago, we came upon the Twin Cities, the first 65 members of Team RWB. I can confidently say that there was not a single person that had any idea that Team RWB would become what it has. How many lives it would enrich, how many lives, in fact, it would save. And so over the past month, as I've been putting in a lot of training, getting ready for the run tomorrow, it's given me a chance to reflect on the journey, that journey of people. As Blaine said, a lot has happened in 15 years for each and every one of us personally, as individuals, in our families, but in the country, in the world. You think about the impact of the technology revolution, how it's fundamentally altered our lives. But from the military perspective, we no longer have divisions deployed like we did in 2010 to combat zones that not only produced veterans with unique challenges, but also civilians lining up, ready to help them to integrate back into civilian life. My mentor and leadership philosopher, a guy by the name of Jim Collins, teaches us that, as the world turns and as time progresses, that if organizations want to remain relevant, they must do two things: preserve their core and stimulate progress. So when veterans desperately needed help reintegrating into civilian life, Team RWB delivered on that mission in a big way. In 2019, it started to become clear, to a lot of us that there was a different need that was emerging. A lot of organizations had stood up to help veterans to transition and reintegrate. There weren't as many veterans who were reintegrating with challenges, but we saw that the physical and the mental health, especially for a lot of those veterans who 5, 10, 15 years earlier had been deployed, was struggling. So Team RWB stimulated progress, and we evolved into an organization with an explicit focus on health and wellness. The core that we had to preserve throughout that process, the community. Community is medicine, community is powerful, but community is messy. People have always been complicated, we know that. You can look back throughout history and see that very clearly. But in the information age that we live in, we are busier and more distracted than ever. And to be honest, a lot of our fellow citizens have lost the patience and the willpower to deal with the discomfort that routinely and consistently comes with being in relationship with other humans and being a part of a community. When I think about Team RWB, the hard truth is that there's so many veterans that were once so involved in RWB who no longer are. And for many of them, it's a season of life thing. But for a lot of them, it's really the messiness of some of the relationships. When you go all in on people and you get involved in their lives, it's going to be hard. And it causes a lot of people to withdraw from community. With that clarity, I couldn't help but be reminded of Teddy Roosevelt's famous speech. I think most people have heard it, although you may not know the name of it, but it's called Citizenship in a Republic, that he delivered precisely 100 years before RWB launched. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again. Because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows that in the end, the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. And so my encouragement to us here tonight, and to the 300,000 plus members who have joined Team Red, White, and Blue over the years, is do not let resistance run your life. Getting involved in community is going to be messy, and we can't be afraid of the struggles, the failures, the setbacks, the friction, all that stuff that comes with it. Because while other people are our greatest source of stress, they are also our greatest source of joy and happiness. And I think I speak for really everyone in Team RWB when I say we're here for all of it. And we are proud to represent what it means to be fully human. As you've heard by now, hopefully, our vision statement that evolved in 2020 is that we are forging America's health and wellness community for veterans. Forging is a powerful word that we chose on purpose. It's defined as shaping an object by heating it in fire and then hammering it. I love the symbolism there. To forge something, it means you must endure the heat, the trials, and the tribulations. And the ing at the end of it means that the process is ongoing. There is no finish line. At Team RWB, we add an average of 15 to 20 veterans to our team every single day, still, all these years later. And we will continue to build our community in the years ahead. So I certainly appreciate, the love and the kind words, but probably the most clear thing I can say tonight, is like, this is not a victory lap. As I hand over the executive director reins to Sully here, the board voted and everything is official, it's buttoned up. I think tomorrow he's got to actually finish the marathon with me till it becomes official. My final message, for everyone tonight really is a question. I recognize everyone's in different seasons of life and different chapters, but wherever we're at, whether we're on this mission full-time or we're in a volunteer leadership role or we're members, what can each of us do today to ensure that Team RWB is still serving and enriching veterans' lives 100 years from now? In other words, Team RWB needs to outlive every single one of us in the room and become a legacy organization for the veteran community and for our country that is here forever. Because America needs organizations like Team RWB more than ever right now, and the kind of people who make a sacrifice and who come here tonight, the kind of people who roll up their sleeves and do the hard work. And so I really cannot thank you enough for your friendship, the mentorship, the support, the sacrifice, and all that Eagle Fire for 15 years. It has been really, truly the honor of my lifetime to be able to share the journey with you. Thanks a lot. All right. And with that, I now have the distinct honor to be able to introduce one of my friends, but also someone who I would say, is, a really big part of the early story of Team Red, White, and Blue. And I'll just give a little bit of context, like Blaine kind of like waxed poetic on some of the Bayshore Boulevard runs from the summer of 2010. I was deployed with Sully, with John Fonts, with Blaine, with a lot of other folks in 2009 that were an early part of Team Red, White, and Blue. And some of those guys were Navy SEALs, and they were Naval Academy class of 2003. And when we got RWB going, as Blaine mentioned, like there was no real big vision. There was no big picture. There was let's roll up our sleeves and be a part of something here. And I got an introduction from Nick Hill, who was one of the SEAL platoon commanders who knew Tim. And he said, hey man, I don't know what Nick said to him, but I think he just said, hey, Erwin's was this intel nerd, but he's trying this ultra marathoning and running thing. I think you'd be good for it. And so I remember I actually first talked to Tio. I was in my hotel in Tampa in the summer of 2010. RWB we hadn't even had this event yet. And I had a call with him. He's like, yeah, so what's this organization all about? And I'm like, yeah, we're kind of figuring that all out, but we're called Team Red, White, and Blue, and we're going to do some marathons and all that. He goes, yeah, man, I'm in. I want to support. How can I help? He was just preparing to make the transition from the Olympic distance to the Ironman distance. But really for 15 years, T.O. has been a big fan and supporter of RWB. He's helped to put on some of our triathlon camps in the early days, flying the Eagle, on his bike, on his tri-gear in Kona, competing at the absolute highest level, of Ironman distance triathlon. And so he's got an amazing story. He's got an amazing journey. He's a great American, and I'm just thankful that he joined us here tonight from Boulder, Colorado. So please join me in a big round of applause for Timothy O'Donnell.
Wow, Mike, thank you for that kind introduction. And thank you everybody for having me here tonight. It's an honor to not only be celebrating 15 years of Team Red, White, and Blue, 15 years of enriching the lives of veterans, but to be celebrating with everyone in this room who knows what it means to serve. Now, I had a less than typical career in the Navy. My older brother, who's still in, he's been in for 25 years, tells me I had the best career in the Navy ever. So I graduated from the Naval Academy in 2003. At the time, I had service selected Special Operations EOD. But at the same time, I also found this thing called triathlon. And I had this hope, this dream, this burning desire in me to be a world-class triathlete. So my Navy career kicks off, I get commissioned, and I also get to go to Cal Berkeley as part of the immediate graduate education program. So as an ensign, I'm going to California, baby. 2 more years of continuing education, but also 2 more years that I got to ride my bike. Now at Cal, I started competing at the highest level. I earned a spot on the U.S. national team. And I also started winning the Armed Forces Championship. With all of that brought the attention of my command and my boss, the Commodore of EOD Group 1, Captain Marvin Hines. So Captain Hines saw something in me that a lot of people didn't see at the time. He saw me as a way to represent the Navy, to represent the Armed Forces, and to represent our country on an international stage. And
He brought the support of the Navy, he brought the support of the EOD community behind me to go off and to represent us. And you have to remember, this is a difficult time. This is when guys like Mike are out deploying. So here I am. My classmates, my friends are deploying. They're facing the unknown of combat. And I have the opportunity to go ride my bike around the world, World Cups, World Championships, representing what the Navy stands for, the quality of their people. And this caused attention to me. It weighed heavy on me because here I am completely aware of the opportunity I have and completely grateful for this opportunity they've given me, but also feeling that tension, like I said, that maybe I'm not doing what I should be doing. And at that time in all my peers' lives, we were all facing this spot as young men and women. And that's when we face the unknown. And that moment we face the unknown is the moment we really discover who we are. My department head, actually, the stars aligned in this, it's ridiculous. My department head had raced triathlon professionally when he was young, before he got into the Navy. And he sat me down, he said, Tim, you didn't write your own orders. You did what we asked you to do. You need to go chase that dream. So with his love and support, I transitioned. I transitioned from the life of the Navy. I transitioned from that career in special operations that I thought was going to take me through 20 years. And I went into the unknown of professional triathlon. With a little money in my pocket, no sponsors, and a love for the sport, I moved to Boulder, Colorado. But still, when I faced that unknown, it all became clear, and things started to click. 2009, my first year out of the Navy, I started winning races. I started winning races all across the country, across the world. I won a world championship that year. But something was tying me back. Something was tying me back to service. And I didn't know what it was until Mike Irwin called me. 2010, like he said. So what he didn't mention is that when Nick Gill connected us, I made sure to talk to one of my other buddies, Brian Scullin, who worked on the teams with Nick. Brian was the co-captain of the Naval Academy Triathlon team with me. And I said, Brian, what's this Mike's guy's deal? Should I take this call? What am I getting him into? He said, no. He said, Tim, he's the real deal. You should talk to him. He said, Mike wants to do something special with veterans and fitness, and I think you should do it with him. So with that, I hopped on the call. And immediately I saw Mike's passion. I saw his commitment to community, his commitment to connection, and I knew this was it. This is how I could still serve. This is how I could use the platform I was building in Ironman to help serve our veterans. And we grew from there. And one of the most special moments I had in my early triathlon careers was 2011. My first full Ironman competition. Ironman Texas, the US Championships. So here I am, full of piss and vinegar, ready to take on the world, but not knowing how to race an Ironman. Once again, diving into that unknown. I was about to see what I was really made of. I rode like hell. I got dropped on the bike. I clawed my way back up. And at 20 miles, I caught back up to the guy that was winning the race, Eneko Llanos, a veteran of the sport, a podium finisher at the Ironman World Championship the year before. I dug so deep to get back up there because resilience, and I was showing in that moment, resilience was really the key to my entire triathlon career. Well, and Nico, the veteran he dropped me. In fact, he broke me really bad. I didn't think I was going to get to that finish line until I saw Team RWB. I saw the flag that Mike had flown in Afghanistan, and I saw my fellow Eagles. And I can feel the chill running down my spine that I had on that day. I can feel the goosebumps that took over my skin. I found the energy to get to that finish line. I felt the power of that flag, and it wasn't just fabric. That flag represented community. It represented everyone. And I had this realization at that moment too. At first, I thought Mike was bringing me in to help lift others up. But in this moment, getting me to that finish line, I was being lifted up. That's the power of community. That's the power of Team Red, White, and Blue. Now, all races aren't fairy tales. I had a rocky road after that. In fact, I went on to my first Ironman World Championship that year in 2011. Here I am, ranked #1 in the world in the Ironman rankings. A great debut performance. 10 years after 9/11, and I made a commitment to raise $10,000 on the 10-year anniversary going into that October. I think we raised maybe 10 or 15. I was ready to take on the world. Yet halfway through the bike, I found myself covered in vomit, barely being able to push my pedals, failing. I made it back to transition. I'll do a little quick timeout. Who's familiar with Ironmans? Who's not? Who's never heard of an Ironman? Like, what is this guy talking about? So Ironman it's a triathlon. It's a swim, bike, run. It's a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and a 26.2 mile run. If you're doing it in Hawaii, in Kona, the ground temperature is about 130 degrees. And it's quite a challenge. So here I am, trying to get back to transition. And I pull out of the race. And I remember Mike reaching out, letting me know how proud he was of me, regardless of my failure. And I remember going back to my hotel room and staring in the mirror. And I remember reading what Mike just told everybody, The Man in the Arena by Teddy Roosevelt. And I remember looking at myself, trying to figure out who I was going to be. Where was I going to go from here? And I made a commitment to never drop out of a race again. I made a commitment to never be one of those cold or timid souls who knows neither victory nor defeat. And I grew from there. Because you can't have the highs without the lows. Without the struggles we all go through, without the wounds, without the scars, we'll never know what triumph truly feels like. And I built from there, and I had great years at the World Championship. I had horrible years. I had years like in 2014 where I tore my oblique on the bike. I started walking at 8 miles into the run, knowing that I was going to finish that race, knowing that my now wife, Miranda Carfrae, 3-time Ironman world champion, was going to run by me while the entire world on NBC watched. That's hard to swallow, right? Brian still gives me crap about that. But I had the high times too, and it all built up to 2019. Now, the year before, I'd had probably my best performance at the World Championship ever. I had recorded the fourth fastest time in the history of the race. I was ready for it to be my year. I've had podiums there. I've had many top 10s. 2019, I was ready for it to be my year. And then 7 weeks before that gun went off, I broke my foot on a training ride. 7 weeks before the World Championship. Everything I prepared for, I'm 39 at the time. Could be my final chance at a shot at the Ironman World Championship. My wife had already won 3 and I can't even win 1. But what I had learned over the years is the power of resilience and the power of the champion mindset. Because a lot of people think champions are made from the medals they earn. And that's not true. Champions aren't made from medals. They're made from the mindset that they create within themselves. And that is that sense of resilience. So I went to the hospital that night, got an MRI. The tech tells me it's super broken. I'm like, you're not supposed to tell me that. That's a doctor's job. But it was very broken. I went home. It was an empty house that night. I popped a bottle of wine. I sat on the couch. And I said, all right, Tio, you have one night, you have one bottle of wine. And then tomorrow we put a plan together to win a world championship. Broken foot or not, it doesn't matter. We all get dealt cards. We all get our hand that we have to play. And champions don't put their hand down. They don't fold just because they don't think they have a chance of winning. No, the champion has the mindset. So I said, okay, what can I do to win this race? Well, I started riding more because I couldn't run. I got an amazing riding shape. I got in swim shape like I hadn't been since I was swimming at the academy. I was doing everything I could to give myself a shot. Just a shot. That's all I wanted. So I found myself at the start line of the 2019 World Championship. Once again, facing a moment of the unknown, about to find out what I was really made of. Well, 90 miles into that race, 90 miles into the ride, I find myself in a 3-man breakaway on the front of the World Championship. Me, a guy named Jan, who's a 2-time Ironman World Champion and a 2008 Olympic gold medalist, and a guy named Ali, the 2012 and 2016 Olympic gold medalists. So in this group of 3, there's 3 gold medals, and none of them are mine. But A champion is not made by the medals. They're made by their mindset. And I knew I had a shot. And I hit that run. I didn't know if my foot would last 10 steps or 10,000 steps. But I knew I was going to give it a try. I knew I was going to get to that finish line. That's what champions do. Well, I ended up finishing in second place that year. Young got me. But I became the first American to ever break 8 hours at the World Championship. Thank you. And I had my fastest run time ever on a broken foot. But that's the power of resilience. That's the power of our mindset. And we're all going to face unknowns. And how we respond to the unknown is what defines us. And I want to share one more quick little story with you. And it's a moment where I had to face the unknown. And the unknown was life or death. In 2021, at the Challenge Miami Triathlon, I found myself in a situation I never thought I'd find myself in. Here I am, my first race against Jan again. This was my chance. This was my chance to beat the legend. He's like a bronze statue of a Greek god. I mean, look at the guy. How do you beat that guy? But this was my chance. I didn't have a broken foot. I didn't have to push the bike too hard. I could run my race. And then two-thirds through the bike, pain throughout my body, spreading across my chest, shooting down my left arm, locking up my jaw. Now I'm a guy that's very comfortable being uncomfortable, but this hit a little bit different. So I actually took a pause and I said to myself, is this a heart attack? And then I looked down at my Garmin and I'm going 30 miles an hour. I'm like, no, this can't be a heart attack. You're going 30 miles an hour on the Miami Homestead Speedway. So I kept going. I'm like, all right, Tio, just back it off a little bit. Recompose yourself. You're not pulling out of this race. I get it together, but things start to get worse. I'm falling behind. Get through the run, finish the race. And shortly after, I find myself in the ER. That bright hospital light shining down on me. Cardiologist standing over me. I'd suffered a widowmaker heart attack. And they call it a widowmaker because 88% of the people who suffer one, they don't survive. They're not here to talk about it. Now the doc looks at me and says, Tim, you're going to be okay. Put the largest stent we have in your heart, you'll be fine. You'll live, but your career won't. So here I am, battling for my life, only to be told that I now had to find a new career too. Now, at the time, my wife is at home with my 3-year-old daughter and our 8-week-old baby boy. How am I going to pay for diapers now? How am I going to pay the mortgage? All these thoughts are rushing through my body. But the thing about resilience, it's a choice. The mindset is a choice. And I made the choice that I was going to pick my future, that I would be back. I made it on that hospital bed. I knew I wanted to come back to racing, to the Ironman World Championship. I knew I wasn't going to let the words of even a very good cardiologist stop me. But it's our choice. In life, when we have these challenges, we have these roadblocks, there's two things that happen. We can turn it into an anchor, it can bring us down, or we can turn it into our wings. I decided to turn it into my wings. Now, something really hit me on my way back, on my journey back to the Ironman World Championship. And that was the idea of time healing all wounds, because we all heal that, right? Time heals all wounds. And I don't believe that's the case. Time does not heal all wounds. The scars will remain. The memories are in you. The pain just doesn't disappear. But what time does do is gives us the choice to grow, the choice to transform, the choice to rise above, to take that fire that Mike mentioned and let it forge us, to make us stronger. That's exactly what I did. Now I got back to the Ironman World Championship. I was the top American one more time, and I went on to win one more Ironman a few months later. But at that moment on that hospital bed with that light on me, I didn't know if I could do it. I didn't know if I had the strength. Even as strong, as resilient as I am, as I show myself through my career, I didn't know if I could do it right there. I was by myself. My family was thousands of miles away. And when the doctor told me those words, that you'll never race again, God put someone behind, right there beside me to walk me through this. And I hear a voice out of nowhere, the head cardiac nurse. He starts shouting at the doctor. He said, "Doc, you're full of shit. I know guys like Tim. I know how strong he is. I know he'll be back." He looked at me and said, "Tim, don't worry, you'll get back on that bike." Because sometimes even the strongest of us, even the most resilient, we can't lift up by ourselves. We need the support of others. And that is the importance of Team Red, White, and Blue. The community, the connection, being here for each other, for others, to lift each other up when you can't carry the load by yourself. For 15 years, Team Red, White, and Blue has been doing that. For 15 years, Team RWB has been turning pain into pride, pain into purpose, wounds into wisdom, scars into strength. So tonight we're celebrating that 15 years, but we're also looking ahead to the next 15 years. And I'll tell you what, I've talked a lot about the unknown tonight. The future is always an unknown. So it's up to us. The choice is ours. And how we prepare for the unknown, how we handle it, that will define us. When I made that choice on that hospital bed to fight, I made the choice to take my wound, to take the scar that was literally on my heart, and make it the place where light came into me, where light lifted me up. And now, Team RWB, this is our turn. We can do that for all the veterans out there. With our help, with our support, we can turn their wounds into the light that lifts them up. That's resilience. That's community. That's Team RWB. Thank you.
All right, hello everyone. I'm JJ Pinner. I want to take a minute to do two quick things, if you'll permit me a little artistic license. The first thing is I want everyone to recognize and say thank you to Lonnie Faulkner, who put this in. She also put us in the unenviable position of following that up, which is not the place we want to be. Blaine and I, some of you might know this, but we go way back. We were roommates in college. We were the first two employees at Team RWB, and so we've spent a lot of time kind of what we call ham and egging things, where he'll do half and I'll do half, and we're going to do the same thing for this next couple things. But we have a couple of awards that we wanted to give and wanted to take a moment. And so the first one is a little bit unique, and it's an award we've talked for a while about having an award at Team RWB that we would give on a consistent basis to someone who really embodied the values that we have at Team RWB. And when it came time to think about who we might honor kind of with this award and name the award after, it was a pretty easy decision. And some of you know this person, but this award is called the Impact Award, and it's named after a longtime Eagle named Dan Manrique. And so I wanted to just take a moment to share a little bit about Dan. So he was a Marine, he was a radio operator, and he deployed to Afghanistan with the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit in 2007. He was an NCO and he left the Marine Corps as a sergeant. After he left active duty, he found himself in a position that I think many veterans do, where he moved back home and he was missing the community and the sense of purpose that he had. And he was from California originally, and he helped build and start the Ventura County, California chapter. And I think that when he did that, he helped create kind of the connection and purpose in other veterans there that he had in his own life. And became more and more involved in Team RWB, and it was a really awesome thing to see, because looking at the numbers from our level, we could kind of see what was happening in California and Ventura County. And this culminated in him getting his dream job, which was working for us full time, and he got that job in October of 2018. In early November of 2018, he was killed at the Borderline Bar and Grill in Thousand Oaks, and a shooting happened there. And, I don't think anyone knows, but it was reported, some say, that he was, shot while trying to protect others in that shooting. And so this is really personal to me, because he was actually killed on my 40th birthday, and which is when I found out about it. And I was the executive director of Team RWB at the time. And it was tough. It was one of the most difficult leadership positions that I've ever been in. And it's one of these things where you don't really know what to do when you wake up in the morning. You just don't know how to handle it. And I was, Laura Werber sitting in the room, she was there with it, and it was extremely difficult for all of us. And I think we wanted to find a way to honor Dan in a way that is positive, because that's how I remember him. And so we decided that we have an award that we're going to start giving. It's called the Dan Manrique Impact Award. And at the end of the day, that's what Dan did. He was a Marine, and he got things done, and he was focused on impact. And that's how I remember him. And we decided that we want this to be positive and uplifting, and we are going to start giving the Dan Manrique Impact Award to someone who really drives a lot of change in our organization. So, without further ado, Blaine Smith is going to announce our first recipient of the Dan Manrique Impact Award, who unfortunately could not be here, but it sounds like something he would do.
So the award this year is going to go to Marcus Ruzek. And for those of you that don't know, Marcus Ruzek is the Senior Program Director at the Marcus Institute in Atlanta, Georgia. And before taking that role and exiting the military, he was a Special Forces officer, continued to serve as an SF officer in the reserves or the Guard after that time. And there are a couple of really important things that we need to understand about Marcus and the impact he's made, not just on Team RWB, but on the veteran space at large. Number one is that when Marcus came into this role, he understood immediately the responsibility that he had, because the Marcus Institute is very large and has the ability to write very big checks. And he wanted to make damn sure that he did it absolutely right. And so before he looked across the landscape or made any decisions or decided where he was going to start twisting knobs or pulling levers, Marcus Ruzek got on the phone and started talking to everybody that he could. And I was very lucky to be one of the people that had a chance to talk to Marcus. And I can't tell you how humble and how committed he was to making sure he understood what was going on in the veteran space, where the needs were, where the gaps were, and how he and the Marcus Institute could make the biggest impact possible. In fact, after a number of conversations and probably 6 months of back and forth, Marcus and the team there gave Team RWB the first 7-figure investment that we had ever made, which at the time, a big check for us was maybe $100,000 commitment. That was a big deal. And they invested $1.2 million over the span of 5 years in Team RWB, making a huge bet on us, recognizing the potential of the organization, but really committing to it in a way that was a true partnership. The other thing you should know about Marcus is that once he does understand what's going on, he will look you right in the eye and tell you the truth. And he has been a partner to myself, to JJ, to a lot of us in this room, and to the entire veteran space by being able to say, this is right, we're going all in on it, and that doesn't make sense, we're not going to be a part of it. And I love Marcus for this, but he will be in the room and let you know where the Institute stands, what he believes, and that ability has made an enormous difference, because I don't know if you guys know this about working at a nonprofit, but people tend to be nice to one another. You go to a conference and everybody's, smiles and nods, and that's really cool what you're doing. Marcus can do that a little bit, but then he can look you in the eye and say, I don't think that makes sense. We should talk more about that. And we need more people like that in our lives. We need more people like that in the veteran space. And Marcus, now almost 10 years on, has proven to be one of those people. And the impact he has made on our space, much like Team RWB, has sort of shifted it forevermore, regardless of what he goes on to do for the rest of his career. So we're very honored and excited to offer this award tonight to Marcus Ruzek in absentia.
So we are going to harness the power of AI here. So Blaine and I are going to pose for a picture with Marcus Ruzek, who's not here. And the goal is for us to be able to send this to him with a fake picture of him. So let's do this really quickly.
Want him in the middle?
Oh, yeah, in the middle.
Yeah, let's do it.
And next, we do have someone we'd like to call up to the mic real fast. Or up to the stand real fast. If Nita Pennard could please come forward.
Come on up, Nita, don't be shy. If you could just stand right here where everyone can get a good look at you. Here we go. Okay, so we've got another award to offer here, and it's to our dear friend and colleague, Nita Pennard. And I'll give you the first half of the story and let JJ wrap it up. But once upon a time in Tampa, Florida, we decided that we needed someone to help us with accounts receivable. Is it payable or receivable? Receivable. I had it right, okay. We needed somebody to help us out with accounts receivable at Team RWB. And so you can imagine this is an important, but not exactly a particularly high level job in the organization. And we got a number of applicants, and many of them were very, very good. And one of them was especially peculiar, which was this seemingly retired Coca-Cola executive with a CPA named Nina, who lived down in Bradenton, Florida. And we weren't sure if she was serious at first or understood the job rec. But we saw what the heck, we should talk to this person. This seems interesting. And so Nita came up and we met with her at our office, and we went out to lunch and had a chance to talk with her. And she took this job interview as seriously as I've ever seen anyone take a job interview. I mean, asked good questions, was prepared, asked for the job, all the things you would ever want. And I think I was still left wondering, is she serious? Like, I thought maybe I was being punked. I didn't know what for sure was going on. And then I'm thinking, this woman who I can't understand why she would necessarily need this role is going to drive every day from Bradenton, Florida, about an hour up to our crappy little office in Tampa and sit in a workout room next to Eric Engelhardt, who's going to give her crap every day, and deal with this and deal with me and do this. Like, I scratched my head and candidly was skeptical. I just thought this can't be good. I don't know if we really want to do this, because she's surely going to find out sooner or later that she doesn't need this crap and is going to bail on us. But that is not what happened. Nita showed up every single day at work with a smile on her face, put up with Eric's crap like you wouldn't believe. Got to a point where she could give it back pretty good, actually, at one point. Came to workouts at the Firebase gym afterwards, learned to deadlift, squatted, swung kettlebells, and just went all in on all things Team RWB in a way that I'm not sure I've ever seen. And I only got a chance to work with her for a couple of years before I moved on, but I'll hand it over to JJ here because there's been a lot of years since then.
That is true. And so Nita and I worked together for 10 years, the better part of a decade. And in that, I was very close to her in that entire time. And I want to point out the fact that Lakin Stutzman was initially the person who flagged Nita and was part of our kind of the Three Musketeers, the three of us for the better part of a decade. And Nita always held on to those initial financial duties, but as you would expect, she moved up in the organization very quickly. And she led us through some very difficult times as our director of people in the organization. And she's got this unique blend of compassion, and she's calm and she's steadfast, but she's also can be tough as nails when she needs to. And she just really is able to connect with people in a very deep and profound way. And, you know, sometimes this hasn't happened to me a lot in my life, but I think most of the time Nita has worked for me over the last 10 years. And without a doubt, I have learned tremendously more from her. The way she carries herself, the way she handles situations. She's just an incredibly gifted person. And so some of you may know this and some of you don't, but Nita just retired for her second time. And so she was gracious enough to come up here, and she has been such a huge part of the organization. And there's a few people that I can look back to, and you know, I have been involved in the organization since the very beginning. that I can look back and say, Team RWB would not be what it is today without this person, 100%. There's two of them on this stage, but Nita is 100% one of those people. So we would like to present Nita with this token, certificate of appreciation. And it's a small token, but we just want to say a huge thank you for everything that she's done. So thank you so much. So we have another award. I'm gonna call up Dan Zerbe's here in a second, but I have a quick favor to ask of everyone before we do this. So today is my middle son's 13th birthday, and this was important to me, so I'm obviously here and he's at home celebrating that. So my ask is, I'm gonna take a quick video. When I point to you, I would like everyone to say loud, "Happy birthday, Jake." Can you do that for me? All right. I'm gonna see if I can't mess this up. All right, Jake, I'm here with some of my friends in Minneapolis, and we just wanted everyone to say, "Happy birthday, Jake!" With that being said, I would like Dan Zerbe's to come up, and he has something that they would like to give to Mike from the Minneapolis team and the Twin Cities chapter. So Mike, if you want to come on up, please.
Hello. I am the state coordinator for Minnesota. I've been with the organization for about 10 years, and I met Mike actually 10 years ago when he came for the 5-year. And this is Paul. He's one of our Eagle leaders, and we wanted to give something to Mike from our chapter, from the chapter from the state that meant so much, because the Twin Cities is where it all started. And we appreciate you, appreciate the organization. And so we have a little plaque here, and I'm going to let Paul kind of explain what it's all about.
Absolutely, thanks, Dan. Mike, we've never met in person. My name is Paul Scahadillo. I'm one of the Eagle leaders. One of the Eagle leaders here on Twin Cities. I lead our weekly walks every Wednesday night. I moved to the great state of Minnesota in January of 2018, and it was a bit of a rude awakening to come to this state after having lived in California for a couple of years. I had spent 7 years in Army Special Operations Command. I got out. I used the JAG to go to grad school. But when I came here, I had just gone through some pretty traumatic things personally. And I was really looking for that sense of community and camaraderie that I kind of missed from my days in the military. I found out about Team RWB in July of 2018 during the Red, White, and Boom. And after that, then the Old Glory Relay happened. And that's when I really felt I had found my tribe. So when I want to say that, like, it literally made a huge impact on my life, and not only on my life, but all of those Eagles that are here in the great state of Minnesota, then to have you come back to our great state, to come run the marathon one more time, it's just amazing. So we just wanted to have a very small token of appreciation in the shape of our great state, as a thank you, Mike, for what you did to found this organization that has really, truly impacted all of our lives.
And I don't know who gets the mic next. So. Oh, picture.
All right. Good evening, Eagles. Who's the weird guy that wasn't introduced that just walked up and took the mic? So, good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Sullivan. I am the incoming executive director, and if I complete the marathon tomorrow, if I finish, I might get to succeed tomorrow. The incredible guy that we're kind of celebrating tonight, Mike Irwin, the founder and current executive director of Team RWB. So again, Mike Sullivan. A few years ago, when people were like, "Hey, Mike, what do you want to be called when you come to the organization to work full time?" I was like, "Sully," because there's only one Mike at Team RWB, and it's not this guy. So affectionately, everybody knows me as Sully. I came on board last year full-time as an employee as I transitioned out of 30 years in the U.S. Army. But I'll get to it here in a minute. Mike may have, much like Blaine, much like John Fonts, much like a lot of people in this room, gave me a call about 15 years ago and said, there's a box of red shirts coming. I need you to do something for me. So again, it's an honor for me to stand here today wearing that same red t-shirt that I got in a box. Maybe not this one. That one's maybe a little bit older and smellier. But it's the same t-shirt, same design that we've been all wearing for the past 15 years. You know, and when I look out on the crowd tonight, I don't see just a crowd. I literally see the representation of those 300,000 Eagles that represent the team. They represent the community. They represent the movement that Mike started 15 years ago. And I think, you know, if you listen to the comments that Mike had tonight, that Tim had tonight, you know, the things that have been woven in when we were, you know, giving the award, that for me, it's this idea that Mike found an opportunity for all of us to continue to serve. And we all have an opportunity when we put this red t-shirt on to understand that we are still serving. So for me, Team RWB isn't just a veteran service organization. You know, it's a living, breathing reminder that when the uniform comes off, the mission doesn't end, it just changes, right? 15 years ago, this all started with a simple idea: reconnect veterans to the sense of purpose, their people, and get them concerned about their health. At that time, the mission was revolutionary. We weren't offering programs, we were offering a belonging. We weren't asking for donations, we were asking people just to show up. It was an awesome time to be a part of this organization. Like I said, I got a call. I was working at the Special Warfare Center in school. I had a full-time job. I thought I was really busy. The phone rings. It's Mike Irwin. And I'm going to mention something later. I'm going to talk about Mike a little bit more specifically after my remarks. But there's something about Mike you got to know. There's a reason why all of us are immediately like, yeah, sure, Mike. And I get to that later. But he asked me, well, actually, he just told me, hey, Sully, there's a box of red t-shirts coming your way. It's got the logo of my new organization that I'm starting. It's called Team RWB. It's going to be amazing. We're going to help veterans reintegrate into their community. We're doing it with fitness. It's going to be awesome. You're my guy in Fort Bragg and Fayetteville. Get this thing started. And I'm like, okay, Mike, you're talking fast like you normally do. What exactly is this? He's like, you're going to figure it out because I trust you. So just get that fire started and get out there and get things going. So with that little bit of guidance and a box of red t-shirts, like a majority of the people in this room, we took on the challenge. You know, it was a bunch of veterans, a bunch of active duty, guard, reservists, and a whole bunch of civilian supporters that put on the red t-shirt and decided, let's go for that first run. Let's do a workout together. Let's just go grab some coffee. And out of those small events, it truly sparked what Mike likes to refer to as that Eagle fire. So for me, it's just like, you know, every mile, every drop of sweat, every smile that we share after a workout isn't just fitness. It isn't just healing. It was service. It was an opportunity to continue to give a little bit of ourselves. It was almost like a secret BSO. You know, we weren't out there swinging hammers. You're not out there serving meals. You're running alongside a buddy and you're like, how is this service? But when you start to realize what you're getting out of it and what they're getting out of it, as you mark off those miles together, you realize there's some magic when you put on the Eagle. You know, so for me, it's like, hey, you go on that buddy run, that's an act of service. You decide to get your friend to run the Twin Cities Marathon and you're going to get him to the finish, Mike Irwin, that's an act of service. And I'm going to say it right now for tomorrow. Thank you for your service. All kidding aside, when you reach out to somebody that's struggling or someone that you just know they need to get off the couch and you say, hey man, come on, let's just start moving with me. You're continuing the mission and you're committing an act of service. So it's about showing up again and again, mile after mile, rep after rep, you know, being there in person at those events that countless Eagle leaders put on across the nation each and every day. Every single time they put that event on, that is an act of service. Team RWB does not exist for its members. And this is an important fact. We do not exist for the members. We exist because of our members. It's because of each and every one of you showing up every single day for the past 15 years that we're celebrating this amazing organization. It's because you all decided to say, I'm still serving. So as I look forward over the next 15 years and our nation faces all kinds of challenges, I think there's a unique challenge that we all have been talking about lately. It's actually given us all a little bit of wind beneath our sails in an organization that's like, we're ready for this. It's a health and wellness crisis that's not just affecting veterans, it's affecting our families, our kids, and our nation. But this challenge, this mission, is exactly what Team RWB was built for. For me, the way I see it, veterans understand what it means to lead. We know how to rally a team. We understand that it's not meaningful change is not going to be affected by policy. It's personal ownership and saying, I'm willing to still serve. So when you take on your own health, that's a sign of leadership. When you invest in the wellness of others, that's service. When you model the discipline, the consistency, and the connections, that you're not just improving your own life, but you're strengthening the fabric of our community, again, that's the power of the eagle. The next 15 years, Team RWB will continue to lead this nation. We'll continue to be rooted in one person, the idea of personal connections, a sense of purpose, and continued sense of service. We will build a wellness and health culture that spreads across America, one community at a time, one workout at a time, one Eagle leader in the app, creating an event at a time. Each and every act of service is what's going to move this nation forward. So I'm here accepting this challenge, and I'm asking all the Eagles here to accept the challenge as well, that we promise to continue to stoke and spread that Eagle fire. I ask you to keep showing up. Show up when it's easy, but most importantly, show up when it's hard. Show up for yourself, because your health is the foundation of everything that we do. But show up for your teammates, because someone is there, to Tim's point, that needs to see that act of resilience. They need to see what it looks like and know that you are there to serve them. Show up for the community, because when veterans lead, America follows. So, I know we're not here to watch this happen. We're here to lead it. We're an organization that's not just a veteran, service organization. We are a movement that Americans can get behind. I'm going to challenge you guys to keep still moving, still leading, still chase that Eagle fire, and still serve. It's still our turn, and it's still our mission. So together, I think Team RWB, it's going to be amazing over the next 15 years. We're going to show America what it looks like to live with a purpose, to move with pride, and to serve our nation every single day. So, I don't know if you guys noticed, but it was a beautiful day today in the Twin Cities. Might have been a little hot. I know tomorrow is going to be another beautiful day. I don't know where you're going to find yourselves, but I know I'm going to wake up. I'm going to be ready to serve. I'm going to get out there and chase that Eagle fire. All right, so we're not done with Mike. Mike, you got to come back up here. So we wanted to take the opportunity to recognize Mike's leadership, not only over the last 15 years, but obviously as his efforts that he has put in as the executive director. Before we did that, I actually had this really nice shadow box, but unfortunately, I'm not good at packing things. That thing shattered. But there's a gift that I personally wanted to give Mike before we give him the gift from the organization that is tied to this idea that Mike Rowan is a visionary. He has great ideas. Apparently he has dreams about teams of veterans running flags across America to set world records. But we did a little thing earlier in this year called the Old Glory Ultra Relay. And it came out of the mind of Mike Irwin, who told JJ and I, like 6 months before we decided to execute, hey guys, I really think in the legacy year, our 15th anniversary, we should do something really big. And my dream that I literally woke up from one that morning and said, man, I think I just dreamt about veterans running a flag across the United States and setting a world record. So he asked the two of us if we could pull it off, and we're like, absolutely not, that sounds crazy. But Mike doesn't say no, and so we got after it. So on the 2nd of May, we started on the deck of the USS Midway with 12 veterans, a flag, and we moved that thing in 16 days, 2 hours and 5 minutes, 3,006 miles at a 7:43-minute pace. We set the world record. What I had framed in the shadow box is a copy of the World Record Certification Award that is awarding Team RWB that world record. We hold it, nobody else. No one's gonna take it from us. And that came out of Mike Irwin. What was also in that shadow box, and maybe, I'll get another one made for Mike here, and we'll get it put back together. But it's something also that I held on to after the fact, because the flag that we had was one that I had flown, taken with me to Afghanistan on a tour that we were together, Mike and I. And I'm going to hit a little bit more of that in a minute. But we donated that flag to the Global War on Terrorism Memorial so they could do something special with it, because it represented all the GWAP warriors that those veterans set that record for as members of Team RWB. But what we didn't give was the flagpole. And the handle of the flagpole is right here. So this is the handle of the flagpole that went 3,006 miles to set the world record. And we want to make sure that Mike has that for his office. Still sweating. So we got one more thing for you, Mike. So, kind of in the idea of a change of command ceremony, and you give the commander his colors. We have something for you, but before I give this to you, I wanted to hit upon that little thing that I planted before I gave my remarks. So in 2008, 2009, I met Mike Irwin. We were both in 1st Battalion, 3rd Special Forces Group. I was a returning major in the Special Forces community, Majors Command Companies. Mike was our battalion intelligence officer going into his 2nd year in that job, or third. He'd already deployed once with the battalion under some different leadership. He had made a name for himself as being the guy to go to when it came to understanding where the bad guys are at in Afghanistan. So the two of us got to know each other very well. And, we could tell stories about the things we did that rotation, but this is the thing that I want to hit on. Mike will humble himself all day long and remind everybody in this room, I was nothing but an intelligence officer that worked in the special operations community. Please do not say I'm a special operator, because I didn't do the same things they did. I never went on the ground. You never caught me outside of the headquarters. I just stayed up 24/7, eating massive amounts of caffeine. I'm sure he was living on Rippets, figuring out where the bad guys were at, because that was my job. Please do not give me the same credit that they did. In this room are 3 other guys that served in that battalion: John Fonts, Blaine Smith, and myself. Blaine's right here. Here's the thing. Here's the dirty little secret. If you ask anybody from 1st Battalion, 3rd Special Forces Group, were you willing to go on an objective, a target, on a mission where you knew that you were going to be shooting at somebody and somebody was going to shoot at you, that Mike Irwin had produced the intelligence for? There is not a man in the 1st Battalion, 3rd Special Forces Group, the Desert Eagles, that wouldn't have said, Irwin's intelligence? Absolutely. That guy did everything possible to make sure that we were going to win the day and come home safe. So it's not a surprise that in this room, there's 3 guys from that battalion that when Mike called and said, hey, I got a box of t-shirts for you, or hey, Blaine, I got a job for you, or hey, John Fonts, I'm not even going to talk to you. I'm just going to leave gear outside your house because I live next to you at West Point, and you're going to help me get this thing going. All of us trusted him without fail. We didn't ask any more questions. We were just like, okay, Mike, we trust your intelligence, and we're going to get this thing done. So I can't thank Mike enough. When I did ask a question, and I was like, Mike, what's this all about? What are we doing here? And he said, Sully, this is about you. Because you don't realize it right now. You're a hard-charging, brand new lieutenant colonel. You got a huge career ahead of you in special operations. But eventually one day you are going to leave the military. It is going to happen. You're going to change from active duty to veteran. He goes, you need to do this now because you're going to need it more than anybody else. And it couldn't have been more true. So Mike, I thank you for this. I thank you for your intelligence. Quit beating yourself up, man. In my heart, my soul, It's not stolen valor, dude. You are a special operator through and through. But we can't thank you enough for serving as the executive director and the founder. But from November of 2019 to today, I guess you got a few more hours and maybe a finish, or maybe you're still the executive director. Thank you for your service.
All right, it is. Turn the mic off on this. All right, it is. Penny and I have the great honor of wrapping this thing up tonight. There's some cake back there in the back that will be cut, especially for those of you running tomorrow. You know, continue to carbo load, get those sugars in there. You'll burn them off. It's fine. If there was ever a night to eat cake, it'll be long gone by mile 15 tomorrow. So just a couple of very quick thoughts here to wrap this up. I hope you all can feel the energy in the room. I hope you stick around and share a few more stories with some old friends and some people that maybe you just met here tonight, because there are countless stories in the room. And I heard several times mentioned that we need Team RWB over these next 15 years and beyond. And I know that's true, and I know that you can feel it as well. And I was thinking earlier this morning when I was talking to my wife, Jenny, who's sitting here, about what can we do? Like, could we just get a red shirt on everybody in America? And Jenny, being also an intelligence officer in practice, has said, I don't think that's possible. I know we can do that. And she's right. But what I do think we can do are kind of think about this in three layers. During my time at Team RWB, I've had the ability to make friends that will be friends for the rest of my life. You know, when we were living in Tampa, we had people that would come over and move couches, help us load U-Hauls, watch our kids. I mean, really, really deep and sometimes messy personal relationships. And those started somewhere. But I also traveled a lot when I was in that role. And I would go all over the country, and I would stop in DC or New York or Dallas or somewhere, and I would just look on the website or give someone a call, and I would meet up with people that maybe I didn't know very well, but they had the same red shirt I did. And so we'd go for a run, or we'd do a workout together. And we'd make that little bit of extra effort to get to know one another and have a friendship, even if I was flying out of town the next day. Again, it takes a little bit of effort. It's a little bit of messiness, but you find that person somewhere around the Washington Monument, and you go for a run around the mall together. And the third level, and this is the easiest, and we should do this every day, is oftentimes I'd just be out for a run on Bayshore Boulevard. I'd see someone else wearing the shirt. I didn't know them from Moses. And they'd just be like, hey, here you go. And I'd be like, hey. But we recognize each other as teammates. We recognize each other as humans. And if that was the only interaction we ever had, we at least had the dignity to look at one another and say, I see you, we're on the same team. Think about America and the world that we're living in right now and how much we could use that right now. We all certainly need more people to come over and watch our kids and help us move furniture. We all need to make the effort to get to know someone just a little bit better when it might be convenient just to sort of do it over Zoom or step aside or not have that 2-minute chat at the coffee shop while you're standing in line. And we all certainly use a lot more of just looking at one another and recognizing each other. Maybe just imagine everybody with their red shirt on and just be like, hey, I see you. I think we could get a long way doing that. And while we can't get a red shirt on everyone and we can't get everybody to join Team RWB, what we can do is show them what that looks like. You know, Mike just said, Sully, I'm sorry, there's a lot of mics in this room. Sully just said, you know, when veterans lead, people follow. And I think that's really the opportunity here. We need to have a lot more rooms that look and feel like this one. And it's not going to happen by accident. It's going to be probably this organization that shows the rest of America, not just the veterans community, what right can look like again. So put that on your heart, take it with you when you leave here tonight, take it back home with you, and let's just do our very best. Let's stay resilient, as Tim said. Let's dive into that messiness, and let's just stay with it, because the country needs us, and you folks are the ones to lead it. So thanks for a wonderful evening. Thanks again for showing up. The cake's back there in the back corner. Definitely go have some of that. Stick around, enjoy each other's company, and to everyone running tomorrow, good luck.
Hi, Margaret. Hi, Katie.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. See you later.